Okay, let's do some more Homelabbing today. Doing a bit of the stream admin, and looks like we are online on both platforms. Yes, we are. Great. So I have my home page is working. Let's see. Sure. So this is the home page that I deployed yesterday. It's working quite well. And one app that I have had on my mind for a long time is Wallabag. So I have my RSS feeds here that I am um, subscribing to, and then sometimes I come across articles that I want to read later. But I store I create the note in my Obsidian Vault, and then I will sort of okay. Let's see. Can I show that yet? Yes, I can. Okay. So when I open here in my Obsidian Vault, I have this consume tag, and that is basically my read later list. And these are all the articles that I still want to read, among which Argo CD versus Flux CD. And what Wallabag does is that it takes this, you can take an article like this and then save it in the application itself. So you don't have to worry if this article were to go down at some point that you will lose the text that you want to read. And I kind of want to have one place where I will store all of the stuff that that I want to read. So Wallabag is this self-hosted option. And I had this my eye on this for years, but yeah, I wasn't self-hosting and I didn't really want to purchase it either. Even though it is what, €9 a year. Oh my god, it's actually cheaper to have them hosted instead of doing it yourself. But now I have this home lab running, I might as well host it myself. So here it says try it out. What does that say? No. So it's compatible with iOS. You can probably connect it to your instance. That's going to be cool. So I will need to have a Cloudflare tunnel for it. Yeah, so let's just get going with it. So here's their Docker composer for Wallabag, and I prefer to create my own manifests anyway. But let's just take a quick look. Wallabag Helm chart. So there is a Helm chart for this. Yeah, it had commits 3 years ago. No, those are that's too old. There's the Datri. Yeah, no, I'll just do it myself. It's much more fun to write the manifest myself. So that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, so here's the Docker image, and they just have it as a GitHub package here, or as a release here, apparently. So here it will Postgres. Okay, so it will support Postgres. That's great. Postgres. For using Postgres, you have to define some environment variables. Uh-huh. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So here they're running it with a MariaDB as a Docker Compose file. Okay. So it's just the standard way of deploying it with a database. And is the Symfony also for Postgres? Or is the Symfony for the internal stuff? Symfony env database driver. This sets the database driver to use. Mm-hmm. So does it need, it's saying Redis here. Does it also need Redis, or is it just one of the databases that it needs? No. Okay, yeah. So here's the Docker run Wallabag DB. So this is the Postgres container that they run. Yeah, okay. And then they run Wallabag and they link it to that container. But then I have to figure out a way of... oh yeah, here is the host. And the port. Yeah, okay. So I just set these environment variables and then it should work. Okay. That doesn't look too complicated. So let's do something fun. Let's see if I can get it to work from scratch. Let's see. Okay. Just turn on Keycaster so you can see my keys. Hello, Donovan. Happy Sunday to you too. Hope you're doing well. Oh, do I have a Flux upgrade? That would be fun. Let's see. Homelab. I seem to have a branch with update Flux, but no PRs. Let's see, did the bot make any commits to this? No, doesn't look like it. No, it's up to date with main. Okay, so it's just an old branch. I got excited for nothing. Okay, so I'll just delete this branch. Great. So, I already have like a few applications that basically use the exact same template, you could say, the same method of deployment. So I'm just going to use comma feed as my example. So I'm going to copy all of the manifests in comma feed to a new directory called Wallabag. Then in here, I can just do a search and replace for comma feed and replace it with Wallabag. And that should just basically set everything up. We won't set the security context just yet. The image is gonna be is it just Wallabag, Wallabag? It looks like it. Wallabag packages, Docker. That's just one package though. Oh yeah, here. So this is the GitHub package 269. Okay. So okay. Privilege escalation should be false. Wallabag config map, that's fine. The port. What port are we gonna do? The big question. Oh, you just joined Skool. Nice to have you, man. Welcome to the crew. I should write you a welcome message after I finish the stream. Great to have you on board, man. So I'm in my Kubernetes cluster, and then get svc all, and then grep 8083. Do I have anything with port 8083? It seems like I don't. So let's do port 8083. And I should check which port this one is expecting though. Yeah, so the application is running on port 80 in the container. So I will have to set that port when I configure it. Okay, so we have the secrets. Okay, so I'm using a setup where I am using Azure Key Vaults for my external secret management. So that's what I'm also going to be configuring today. For the networking, I'm going to do the same search and replace. I'm going to do it 8083. And here I'm also going to do the same search and replace. Connection string, storage account name, yep. DB username, password, yep. So the secret configuration will come after. So now this was the base layer of the application, and now I can copy my production layer, Wallabag, because that's how I have it currently. Cloudflare, here I can do a search and replace. But we're not gonna, let's see, replace this. Database, replace. I'm just replacing all of the words Wallabag or comma feed with Wallabag everywhere. So all of the names are the same. Now, in my initial customization, I'm not going to include the Cloudflare or the network policy. Where is the ingress though? Oh, that's here, networking, not YAML. Hey, that's interesting. Where is the ingress configuration for comma feed? Huh? Wow, what? Ingress, comma feed. I don't have an ingress configuration for comma feed. I could swear that I have that. Oh, wait. Yeah. I'm having it as a Cloudflare tunnel, and then you don't need an ingress. I'm almost certain about that. Comma feed, SVC, ingress. Yeah, I don't have an ingress resource. Yeah, I'm using a Cloudflare tunnel, so it doesn't need an ingress resource. I'm just being super stupid, like always. So, okay. Save all of that. And again, for my production layer, I am gonna skip the Cloudflare tunnel and the network policy for now. The scheduled backup can be run. Okay, so now let's go configure my database stuff in Azure. Kubernetes Homelab production. This contains all of the secrets for my application. So, Wallabag. How am I calling it in the secrets here? Wallabag DB password. That's what it's going to be called. Secret is going to be, let's see. Okay, so I've now entered a secret in my key vault, and I used to have the DB username as a secret, but I don't think I actually need to have that as a secret. So that can be commented out. The blob SAS I will need to configure. Storage account name, where is that necessary for? Oh yeah, that's how the EDB operator works. Yeah, that's right. Okay, well that's no problem. That one I can have. So Wallabag storage account name. And that is just going to be the name of the storage account. Hey Han Solo, how are you doing today? let's see, my storage account name is HL Database Production. So we need the storage account name. The connection string is going to be what I'm creating in the storage account. So in my storage account, I have a bunch of containers, and each container has the backups of my database. So every night at 3 a.m., I make backups of my database in my storage account so I can restore them later if I need it. So I'm going to create a new container called Wallabag. Create. And then I need to create a SAS token. Well, I can show you how I do it. Let's see, access keys. Here, shared access signature. So here I have to configure a signature, and I'm going to have that expired 2 years from now. And very important, it needs to have all of the permissions, read and write. And then I can generate it and then store it in my key vault. So yes. Okay. Okay. And then the name is going to be Wallabag connection string. Okay. So now I have created my connection string. Hey Larry, how are you doing today? I've got the connection string, the storage account name, and the blob. Oh no, it's the blob SAS. What I needed to create. Okay. My apologies. I need to create a new one. Blob SAS. Then copy over my SAS token. And my connection string. Okay. So now those are done. Then I have my DB password. Okay, those are the Azure secrets configured. Now, for the database, it's going to be v0. And let's see, the storage. Let's start with 2 gigabytes. The bootstrap needs to be an initdb. So this is how you configure an initdb instead of recovering from a backup. Okay. The cluster backup needs to go to /Wallabag. Server name is v0. And then there's the blob says. But we don't need that yet. That's for later. This is for the backup that will be created as I create it. So here's the... let's do a retention policy of 14 days for this. And let's start with 300 megabytes of memory. So that should be the configuration for the database. And if I did it correctly, then it should already create a backup from the get-go. Here. We just name it v02. And then it's just a matter of passing the correct environment variables to our new application. So for that, we go back to Wallabag and let's see. Okay, I'm just going to copy these over. And let's open the deployment. Because I'm passing from the config map and from the container env. So let's just open the config map and see. So this is for the Postgres container. But here is the one for the thing. So Postgres password, that's the name of the environment variable that it's expecting. And I'm passing that in my secrets.yaml. Here. So I'm creating a secret that's called Wallabag container env. And the key of the secret is Postgres password. And I'm giving that the contents of Wallabag DB password in my Azure Key Vault. Hey, Rio. I owe you one for reminding me of the dodenherdenking yesterday. I had totally forgotten that. So after you posted that, I instantly ended the stream and did my duty as a Dutch citizen. So this should make the Postgres password available in the container environment. So we have that one done. Postgres user, that's going to be a new environment variable. Oops. And let's see. No, I don't want to be editing the LinkedIn database file. I need my Wallabag database file. Here we are saying that the database user is going to be Wallabag. Not surprisingly. Wallabag. Then we have a variable database driver. And that is PDO PGSQL. Now the database host is going to be similar to what I have in comma feed. Let's see. Question at Misha. Any specific reason you're not using the config map generator in Customize? I do use the config map generator for merging Grafana dashboards, for example. So I have a bunch of JSON files, and then I'm generating a config map based on those files. But do you mean that you would use a config map generator instead of hard coding a config map file like this? The database host. Let's see. How did I do that in comma feed? Do I have it in a config map? Oh, that's a bad example because it's using this other type of connection string. Not in this one. Here's an example. So for the database host, we just use a Kubernetes DNS type URL. And this is going to be the name of the service that the EDB operator is going to create. And that's going to correspond with the cluster name that I give here. So the service that it's going to create is should be called Wallabag DB Production V0 RW, and then the namespace is going to be Wallabag.svc cluster local. That's where the database is going to live. That's how it will reach that. Database port is straightforward. Database name is also Wallabag. Okay, so it's probably creating a Symfony database for itself. I'm gonna assume that at least. Okay, so I need to change the equal sign to a colon and then space. So I'm just gonna select it, S, equal sign, replace that with colon, space. Hoppa. And indent. Okay. Thank you, Aditya. With Customize, I never use plain config maps. The main reason is Customize will actually change the name of the config map depending on the contents. Oh. Okay, so I've been like, I always like to just have the files like configured as I love Customize, but for my own management, I like to be able to open the file and see how it's going to look like in my GitOps repo and see how it's going to look like on my cluster. But what you're saying is definitely a valid point because it changes the name. So what would this look like with a config map generator? Here. To generate a config map from a file, add an entry to the files list. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it would be, this would be a separate file. So let's call it Wallabag env.yaml. Like this. Oh, and then I will have to, okay, well, I'm not going to do it now, but I am definitely going to try it later. Now I just want to get it up and running. Let's see, those we don't need. It looks like I will also need a database password for Symfony. So that will also require another secret. And let's call that Wallabag Symfony password. Symfony. Let's see, my secret. Symfony password. Then in the container env secret, we will have another key that will take the Wallabag Symfony password. And then in there, we are going to have the secret will be under the environment variable. Symfony env database password. Here we go. All right, Rio, thanks for tuning in. See you later. So, Postgres password and Symfony password. And I just need to enter my Symfony password. Okay, that's done. So, getting closer. So we don't need this one in the config map anymore. We also don't need to have the namespace here. All of that we are going to add in the customization file. So closing everything off. And just going through it again. Customization, namespace, Wallabag. Well, before we go through everything, I'm just going to start deploying the namespace, and I'm doing that from a different repo. So here, I will open namespaces, and I will copy homepage, call that Wallabag, and I need to hide a few secrets here first. Because what I'm doing here is that this actually creates the namespace from a separate repo, which I have private, because that contains some private applications and some private secrets. Then here I can add Wallabag like this. And actually I can remove the Homar namespace because I'm not using that anymore. So that one can safely be deleted. Delete Homar, add Wallabag. So that can just start churning in the background. Oh, I didn't save that apparently. Okay. Now that can churn in the background. Let's see. Can someone who's been following along the Homelab videos tell me briefly what the playlist is actually about? Well, I have a Homelab here. I have a Kubernetes cluster that's running on several nodes in my closet, so on several machines, and I use it to learn. I'm a professional Kubernetes engineer, but I learn like in my free time, like I'm doing now. I'm always learning and discovering new things. And in order to do that, you need to have a cluster you can play around with. And that is a Homelab. It's your own private Kubernetes cluster where you can self-host your applications, you can test things out, and you can do what you want, basically. So going through it one more time before I commit it, we have the containers here. We have the config map and the secret. That's all great. Then our customization YAML has the namespace. That's correct. The service is the new port 8083. This one also looks good. Let's see. Yeah. Yep, that looks correct. That looks correct. And this one we won't need yet, the Cloudflare tunnel secret, because I'm configuring that later. Okay. Then in our production layer, we have another customization file with no network policy or Cloudflare. So that's correct. We will be adding a config map with the service to the database. That's correct. The database looks correct. Okay. Network policy we don't need. The scheduled backup is okay. Okay, I think I'm ready to apply it. So okay, customize. No, I go to my apps production Wallabag. This needs to change to Wallabag. And then K customize. All right, so no problems with the YAML files. And let's just try. K apply K dot. Okay, so there's one problem with the config map. It might be this one. Let's see, config map in version v1 cannot be handled as config map. Let's see. So we do the same here. Wallabag config map. So what is the difference here? It's the same indentation. What am I missing here? Why is it complaining about my config map? Error from server, bad request when creating dot. Config map data of type string. there some weird character in here or something? It looks... Let's see, k apply f config map.yaml. Let's ask ChatGPT. Ports, quotes around the port number, is that it, you think? Let's try that. Might be. Yep, that was it. Thank you. Like, always an advantage of pair programming. Like, instead, if it would just tell you you are entering a number, and I won't accept that. It throws these. Like, I know there was something wrong here. I thought it was something with the indentation, but that looked okay. But yeah, well, anyway. It has now been applied. So if I go into my namespace Wallabag, we should see a bunch of stuff. So we see a database here running. That went well. But my Wallabag container has a crash loop back off. That might be because it couldn't find the database when it was running. Let's see if the config map is properly available. Yes, it is. So that should all be fine. Then let's kill the pod. And it's throwing an error. Okay. Password authentication failed. So there's a problem with my secret. So has my secret been provisioned? My container env has been provisioned. The Postgres password is there. Let's see. Just going to see what the contents of the secret actually is. Yes, that looks all right to me. Oh, I think I might know what's wrong. Yeah, Wallabag DB creds. I'm not giving it a user here. That's the problem. Oh. Okay. So I need to do a bit of tweaking on the secret. Let's see, database. I tried something new, it didn't work. I thought I would leave out the DB username. But that didn't turn out very well. So call it just DB user. I thought I would save me a secret, but DB user, and that's just Wallabag. Like it's literally in my config map, so it doesn't matter, but it needs to be exposed as a secret. So DB user is there, and I need to activate it in here. Wallabag DB user. Okay. So I will delete this secret. And I will delete this secret. The backup did go correct though. So the secrets of the backup actually went well, the secrets for the storage account. Backup, so it already created a backup, so that's good. But since I'm using a different secret for the database, I think I'll have to delete the cluster. Let's see. Do I need to? Well, let's try doing it without. Let's delete the deployment. And now I'm gonna redeploy the application. So apply K. And now if I go to secrets, it should have. Yes, now there's a new secret, and this one should contain a username. Yeah, okay. So that worked. Then I can restart the cluster by doing kcnp kget cluster. Yeah. Reload the cluster. So k get cluster kcnp reload this. And now we see that the cluster should start to reload. Ah, here we go. Wallabag came up. So it worked. It actually read in, it reloaded the cluster. Oh, almost. Let's see. There's still a small issue with the password authentication. But we're getting close. So I'm gonna I don't mind doxing the database creds now because I'm just gonna change it later. So let's see. These are just some random things that I entered. So that one corresponds with that one. So yeah, I think it's a matter of actually completely restarting the cluster. I thought I reloaded the cluster, but it won't. Let's see. Reload the cluster, restart a cluster. Oh, restart a cluster. That's what I need to do. Reload. Like this. Okay, CNP restart. So this should restart the whole cluster. And I think this will initiate the new user and password. And if not, I'm just going to delete the whole cluster and try again. Okay, so the last instance of the cluster is not restarting yet. Why is that not? Okay, CNP status. Cluster is in healthy state. Let's try restarting the pod. Damn it, still. Password authentication failed for user Wallabag. Then I'm gonna delete the cluster. Okay, and then the backup too. Okay, and then in my storage account, I will also delete everything that's in here. Storage browser, blob, Wallabag, and delete. Hey, why doesn't this show me delete? Storage browser, blob container, Wallabag, here, delete. Yes. And then I'm gonna apply again. So now a new cluster will be provisioned, hopefully with the correct credits now. Okay, we have a new cluster being provisioned. The first replica is up. So now it should be reachable. What is... Let's see. It's still saying password authentication failed. So is my service correct? Because it might say... Let's see. Wallabag DB production V0 RW. So that is correct. There's no doubt that this service name is correct. It is actually the wrong password. Now, if I go into the container, user is Wallabag. Database user is Wallabag. The secret is Wallabag DB creds. Secret. Wallabag DB creds. Has username Wallabag and a password. And they're both the same. So is it not getting the secrets from the environment, perhaps? Let's see. The deployment. Env from secret ref Wallabag container env. Wallabag container env, that's there. So that should work. So am I maybe passing the wrong environment variable to the container? So you're saying the Postgres password is the same as that one. The Symfony env need to be different, so that's not the problem. So somehow my cluster Okay, well then let's try a different tactic. Wallabag DB password. I'm just gonna create a new secret. And that's just gonna be hello world. It might be that the password is too long or that it contains some weird characters. So I'm gonna delete this secret. Delete this secret. Let's see. Yep. Then k delete cluster Wallabag. K delete deployment. All of that is gone. Okay, let's try again with a different, smaller password. What are the changes here then? Well, yes, it is a type basic auth, but that's what the EDB operator expects. So I can show you here. When you do a bootstrap of a database with the enterprise DB operator, you point it to a secret, which is of type basic auth. And that's the one that I have here, Wallabag DB creds. But I'm basing those off of the secret object that I'm creating here. This one. So I've now changed the secret to a shorter name. I had a special character in there and I've been bitten by that before, that it would not read correctly. So now the secret has been resynced and it now has the hello world as a Postgres password. The cluster should be completely redeployed. Yes, that is now up. So now if I delete the pod, there's still a failed password authentication. So wait, let's kill it. And then it's running and then env. So here I was able to capture the env. So here the Postgres password is hello world. That went fine. It's getting the environment variable properly. So that is being passed fine. Postgres underscore password. Is that what it needs to be? Postgres underscore password. Postgres user, it wants to have a super user, but um, username is Wallabag. And if I go into the database and how do you do that again? Show users, PSQL, show users. You can do DU. So there's the Wallabag, which is the user. So we have the Wallabag database in here. And we have a user called Wallabag, but it is saying super user here in the environment. So is it expecting to be Postgres users correct? Postgres user needed for the Postgres container to initialize for the entry point and to create a database and user if not there. Sure. So is it maybe, is this Symfony database, is that being placed into the Postgres database? Is that what it is? Maybe that's the problem. Okay. Wait. So maybe that's the problem. So I'm gonna make the Symfony password to hello world as well. Delete that. So that this is now also hello world. And then the Symfony user, what did I set that to? Postgres user, database name, database user, Wallabag, Wallabag. And then, yeah, maybe that's the problem. So delete this. And also delete the deployment. So we'll redeploy the whole thing. Now the container env has been resynced. Now both passwords are the same. Ooh, it's running. Yes! Haha, that was it. Ah. Nothing wrong with my configuration. Nothing wrong with my database. I somehow assumed that they were two different databases or two different passwords. So it's running. Cool. As we see, let's port forward. Localhost 8083. Connection refused. Oh. Ah, it's forwarding to port 0. So there still needs to be a slight change on the service here. So the Docker file is, let's see, exposing port 80. And is there a way to change that? Probably not. Port. Yeah. So my service needs to point to port 80. So if I edit this to target port 80, port. Oh, how was it again? I always struggle with this a bit. Port, protocol, target port. And then there's also the Kubernetes service port. What is it again? Container port, that's it. So here I have container port 8083. That should be 80. And This container port is 80. Like that. Wallabag is ready. Well, let's do a port forward straight to the container, and then just to take a first look. Ooh, internal server error. Okay. That's interesting because it was saying that Wallabag is ready. Logs. All assets are successfully installed. Well, we are getting close. Let's see, is there any indication? Nothing to install, update, or remove. Let's just restart the container one more time. See what it does. Okay. Wallabag is ready. Port forward. Huh. Is there maybe local port 8085? Maybe something else was running there. Okay. Something is broken. Well, we are getting closer. At least Wallabag is connecting to my thing. Let's see. Wallabag, something is broken. Wallabag error 500. Okay. Well, this is old. Let's see. That's weird. Well, doesn't say anything about the database though. It just says internal server error. And my requests are ending up at the container just fine. but it might have to do with here. Here's this env domain name. Maybe this is, well, it's set to localhost, so it should. I'm approaching it from localhost, so it should also. What is the Symfony env domain name? The URL of your Wallabag instance. Maybe that's the problem. I mean, I'm approaching it from localhost, but then I will just have to add my domain in there. Which isn't a problem. But I do need to stretch my legs for a bit, so I'm just going to take a quick... oh, that's an interesting... You can enable PHP debug mode. How do I do that? Let's see, debug. Doesn't say anything about it here. Wallabag debug mode. Here. Is it maybe like this? No. You can enable PHP debug mode. Configuration. Settings, no. Common errors. No. Parameters. Is this maybe debug? No. Doesn't say anything about debug here yet. But I'm just gonna stretch my legs for a bit and take a short break. I'll be back in a few moments because I feel I'm almost there. So I'll just stretch my legs and I'll be right back. So let's see. Start break. What is this command? That's a script that I wrote for myself. Just starts a Pomo timer and it prints some text to the screen. I write these little scripts for almost everything that I do. The server returned a 500 internal server error. So is there anything that I can see in the container itself, for example? Var logs. Ah, here. Here there is more than just the container logs. So here we are seeing undefined table. Relation Wallabag internal settings does not exist in line 1. Okay, so now there is a problem where the probably it's not initializing the database properly. So let's delete the pod again and let's see what does it say. Postgres database is already configured. Remove the environment variable with the root password. Whereas I would expect it to somehow initialize the database somehow, right? Wallabag is ready. It's saying Wallabag is ready, and if I then go to var logs, now it doesn't say anything. And if I do a port forward now, 8085, for example, it will still throw in an error occurred. And if I now go to cd var logs, cat prod log. Okay, so here we see, yeah. Undefined table. Error relation Wallabag internal setting does not exist. So now there's a problem that is not initializing the Postgres database correctly. It can find it, but it's not setting it up. So what's that about? Migrate. So migrate. Okay, so here's the command. Maybe this. Seems that you already played this migration. Oh, so a few have been skipped. So maybe. Aha! Look. So I had to run the migrate command. Interesting. So then let's take a note of that. Z Wallabag. Had to run this command in the container to initialize the database. Oh. Here. So saving that for myself for next time. So that is now migrated. And then it said the standard name was Wallabag. Login. Okay. Is it then hello world? So not completely there yet. Let's see. Installation. Because I think it said here, default login is Wallabag. Default should be Wallabag. And that's not working. Is it, but is this throwing any useful errors? Logs? No. Authentication request failed. Bad credentials. Username Wallabag does not exist. So why does it say here that the default login is Wallabag, but the user has evidently not been created? So I did the migrate command, but apparently there needs to be more stuff happening when you're doing it on let's see. We need to initialize the database probably. Or maybe we just we have to do the well, maybe we just have to do this. False user create. So the commands were so this is the bin console. False user create. Class not found. Envis prod. I have to add that apparently. Ah, okay. Please use a new username. Misha. Email is test@misha.com. Hello world. Created user Misha. And now yes, now it did work. Okay. So we are getting this really ugly or old school HTML. That doesn't look correct. Let's see. Change language and interface. Sure. Settings. Looks like the CSS or something is not loading. Like I can see that Wallabag is intentionally making it difficult for you to self-host this because they want you to use their own thing. But at least I have it running now. I use Nginx to make Wallabag public available. Like I'm almost there. But why is it not showing up so nicely? Custom CSS. requirements. Yeah, installation. Installation with Docker. We provide you a Docker image to install. Yes. So I've all been doing this. So let's see. Wallabag Docker guide. Does anyone ever work in Docker Compose, Jabal? Mm-hmm. Ah, see, there is a Wallabag install connect command as well. It's working, but the web client has formatting issues. Seems to be missing images. When this happened to me, it was because the domain name didn't match the site. Okay, when I changed it to the 192 address, it worked with the images. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to try the install thing, and then I'm going to call it a night. But I can see that they are actually making it intentionally difficult. Okay, Wallabag is successfully installed. So now, let's see what happens if I go here. No, it's still showing me this ugly CSS. But it did say that when you put the thing correctly, the domain, then it will work. So I am planning to run this on a domain, but I've been doxing the passwords during this stream, so I'll need to redo it anyway. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wind down for tonight because it's getting close to my bedtime. But in the next stream, before the next stream, I'm going to first change the password and redeploy my cluster. And then I'm going to configure a Cloudflare tunnel. And then we're going to see if it works with the correct domain. So at least I got it to run. I came that far. I'm happy about that. And thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And check out the next stream when I'll be fixing this so that it will work. Have a great evening, everybody, and see you in the next one. Goodbye, Donovan. Good luck.